Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in this episode of World of Tanks. We have Beanhole Bandit. Beanhole Bandit from Relic 2, and he is in his JP2. I like this tank. You don't see a lot of replays with the JP2. Mobile's got a good gun. Kind of like a fast, unarmored Furdy. Not that a Furdy really has a lot of armor. I think if you'd have aimed in a little earlier on that, you might have got that shot. I like that he's playing it aggressively, but this is actually going to be a really interesting game because it's a great example of just reacting to what's going on in the game, and sometimes circumstances force you to do things you might not otherwise want to do. So circumstances have forced me to play in a way I do not want to do. So let's see what the circumstances force old Bean into. I think right away we can tell that there's a bit of a situation developing over on the east side. It's kind of one of those things, you know, guys, where you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Know when to walk away, know when to... I'm not going to do the whole song, but you know what I'm saying. The gambler. Sometimes in your TD, you're not able to do the TD. Sometimes the circumstances of the game, the situation you find yourself in, forces you to do something else. And that's where good players or a good game or a good gameplay is separated from bad players or simply a bad game or bad gameplay. Even good players, or sorry, even bad players can do the right thing, but it's consistency. So the question always becomes, all right, Guido, that's fine. Those are all great esoteric platitudes. Clearly, if you do that, then you do well. Well, how do you do that? What is an example of that? Well, I'll tell you what, there's going to be an example of that coming up. Because ideally what you want to do with your JP2 is sit in the back or far enough back that you didn't get spotted and blap away and drop a bunch of bombs on them with that great gun. And then you win, you high five, and you're feeling good. Well, unfortunately for Bean, he's not being afforded that opportunity. His town is completely collapsed. And because he has a mobile gun, he moved it over in order to get shots. You'll notice that the top on the ridge is not really well held. There's a Udez up there, but the Progetto's sort of far back. There's a Pantera hanging around in the middle, and a Lynx that's taken up a position there behind a rock. And they are busily trying to stop the guys pushing in from the side. I might have actually just taken that shot a little bit earlier right there. And Bean is going to try to work these bushes, but they're not great. They're hard to fire out of, either going up towards the hill or down towards this way without being spotted once they get relatively close. Nice job shooting that into the side of the Lurva. IS-3 is alive, and we're going to start getting up here into these rocks. He notices that Scorpion was lit for a couple times, a couple seconds up there, but can't get a shot into it. And we're really just hoping that that IS-3 somehow survives. I think he's just going to take a shot. We've got some things in the way, that tent right there, so I'm not sure if he really had a shot there. Looks like he had a fleeting one on the other tank. And he's going to drop back into this bush. His team hasn't done a whole lot with the information on the map. The information on the map tells me that there's an AT-15 and a T-44-100 on one side of the map where a bunch of his guys are, and the rest of the team is over on the east side. If I called that the west side earlier, I apologize. But the T-44-100 on the west side, and maybe an AT that's a near dead up there. And that's it. That's the entirety of what's over on the west side, and his team is doing nothing with that information. Now they are reacting to some extent, shooting across, and now we've got Bean. Bean did a nice job knocking down that tree right there to give himself a little bit extra cover, but he's completely lost over there on the east side. 53 TP, Allurva, M4190, the JT, and then there's the scout right there. So he's going to spin around here and see if he can get a shot. And he gets some spotting, and all of a sudden circumstances have forced our hero to be more of a scout than anything. So he takes a shot in the 53 TP. 53 TP doesn't quite die, and now the TP knows there's someone there. The Scorpion knows there's someone there. The 4190 knows there's someone there, and to be quite honest, I thought our hero was dead. But he uses the rock as best he can. He tries to guard himself from that way and as much as he can, and from the Scorpion as much as he can. And while this isn't great, he's going to attempt to just live. So he just puts himself behind as much cover as possible and watches he levers himself around this rock so he doesn't actually have to come outside of that bush too much. And then he hangs out. Now watch what the enemy team does here. They do something really bright, which I quite appreciated. Clearly he's in there somewhere, and those two clowns know that, and they keep getting spotted. So they're going to say, you know what, that's irritating. So I'm just going to shoot that way. Well, the 4190 got dead for it. And Bean says, great. And then the 53 TP blind shots went in and says, yes. But didn't kill him. He does ammo rack him. And so Beans are going to move back. He worms his way through the bushes. That's a great skill to have right there, understanding where they are and how much of them you can use. And he backs out of the spot he was, and now he's a scout. That's about the best he can do. If he shoots, he's going to be seen. He's going to get shot by either the Udez or the Scorpion, potentially the Lurva. There's those two guys. And that would be tempting to go after, just spin around and shoot. But again, part of his tank is going to stick out of that bush, and he's going to be spotted. So, hey, there's some spotting for you. He's dropped 3,200. Now he's got 1,800 in spotting. And circumstances has forced him to be, for the moment, a scout. There's the Lurva. AT-15 dies. Why that whole crowd over there hadn't taken care of that much earlier, I don't know. But finally, the Lynx, Progetto, Udez, and Su-130 PM are broken free and feel like they can actually start moving around the map. Took long enough there, fellas. Took long enough. And Bean is just holding tight. Know when to hold him, right? He's just going to hold what he's got. He's really, unfortunately, the bad part about this is he's now relying on what is proven to be a clearly passive team, but at least they're starting to move, and the good news is they've got a couple mediums and a scout in the Lynx. So let's see what happens here. The Artie is dead, the enemy Artie, so he no longer has to worry about getting nuked. That's a good thing. He'd really like to get rid of the 53 TP and the Lurva. Those are probably the two that are stopping him from moving around the most. If they were dead, he might be able to fade back to the south and then get out of there. Although the question remains, where is the 8.8? Has it moved up into the bushes as well? It could very well be close as well in that line of bushes, about where he's looking at right now anyway. We're just going to wait, unfortunately. I'm not really sure why the Lynx didn't do much more. He kind of went north and then came back and is looking around. This is a big, wide open field down here, and it would be easy to be seen by the Udez or the Scorpion. Before the Lynx really saw it, they have pretty poor view range and kind of rely on their speed more than anything. And unless it goes straight up through the buildings, it would have a hard time getting close before one of those guys saw him. And the problem with blazing through the buildings with a Lynx or any of the wheel tanks is it's hard to get through. And all of a sudden, the low makes a mistake, gets spotted, and hands another 71 spotting to our hero. There's the 14.5. There's the 53 TP. There's another 180 spotting. 53 TP's trying to make something happen. There's shots going back and forth. And meanwhile, Bean is hanging out having a... What do the Germans have? Chocolate? No. What do the Germans have? I think it is. Is it chocolate? Yeah. I think it's chocolate because the Americans have cola. Scorpion G dies out of it, unfortunately. Now the Lynx is finally doing what he probably should have done earlier. So get in there and find those guys. The Deluxe Gamer. And he goes in there, but he doesn't go very far. Now he's moving around a little bit. And we are trying to find his last few guys. This is a great example of patience. The other thing you need to watch out for, though, because this game is a game of time and hit point reduction, you do have to watch that clock up in the top right. For the moment, it's not an emergency, but it is getting close to clutch time, and he's going to have to do something a little different if they're not able to start tracking these guys down. Finally, the Progetto moves out. Unknown why it was hanging out the whole time in the back. You got an autoloader like that. But, of course, a hit from an Udez and a Scorpion is probably enough to take him out. Is he actually damaged? I believe he is. Oh, yeah. So he's a one-shot, really, to the Scorpion with any kind of decent roll. And the Lynx is just being kind of lame. This surprised me when the Su-130 PM just drove straight across the field. Somehow he gets away with it and doesn't die. That surprised me. But once he gets his gun up there, it's time for the Progetto and the Lynx to get in. Between the three of them, they should knock those two guys down pretty quick. If this was organized gameplay, you would have a caller getting everybody up there together, including our Udez 14.5, which is hanging out down in the south, because Bean can cover the cap. Why the Udez is sitting there, I don't know. He should have moved long ago. There was no reason. Bean can hang out here and cover the cap, but there you go. There's another shot into the Udez, and Bean's finally thinking, you know, it's time for me to do something. I'll take that shot and take the risk. Knocks down the Udez 14.5. His buddies kill the Scorpion G, and it's all over but the shouting. Now we have a huge advantage in here. If we can just get... I don't know why the Lynx... Why is the Lynx going to the north? I don't know. 53 TP, gets spotted again. Looks like he's trying to take a shot. He dies to a nicely placed shot by Bean, and it is pretty much over. I'll tell you what, it's a great example, everybody, of just doing what has to be done, vice sitting around in a corner and saying, I am a TD, therefore I camp. Or, I'm a camping player, I'm a sniping kind of player, I'm in an UDES 14-5, I must sit back and snipe. What he did is he reacted to the actual fight that was happening in front of him and went to where he was needed. And then when forced to, he played the role of scout because that's what his team needed him to do right at that moment. It also helped that had he moved anywhere, he would have died. He clearly had no choice, but you understand what I'm saying. It was well done all around. Bean, thanks for sending that in. Look at that, 3589 damage, 2,226 assists, and by any measure, that's a pretty dang good game in an all-tier 8 game, especially considering the direction it was going. It looked like it was about to be a raffle stomp, a romple stomp, but largely to the credit of Bean and where he went and what he did, he was able to drag this team kicking and screaming, even all the camping passives, into a victory. So well done, man. Thanks for sending that in. I think it was a great example of what I was talking about there. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and we will see ya.